Most of us view people who talk all the time as outgoing. We view them as the most social people in the room, and we tend to put them on a pedestal if we're not very good at socializing ourselves. People who talk all the time are really good at preventing awkward silence, but there are two edges to every sword, and compulsively talking all the time doesn't always work out the way that we want it to. What you're about to learn is extremely important, and it will completely change your life and take your social skills to a whole new level. Throughout life, there are times when we should talk and there are times when we should not talk. And a famous quote once said that silence is power. Most people don't really think much about their mouth and the power that it holds. Having a big mouth or talking all the time does have some benefits, but silence can be even more powerful. There will be times when somebody insults you. And one of the greatest social skills that you can have is knowing when it's time to say something and when it's better to just be quiet. Oftentimes, we say things to other people and cause problems for ourselves without even realizing it. And if you're somebody who thinks one person should be president, but one of your friends is voting for somebody else, something you have to ask yourself is, how important really is it to be right? Are you willing to harm your relationship with that friend just to feel like you are right and they're wrong? This is a perfect example of a situation where silence can be powerful. Imagine you see somebody who is not thinking rationally and screaming at everybody around them out in public. When people are overcome with emotions like anger and fear, oftentimes silence is the best option until everybody involved has a chance to cool off. One of the mistakes that I've made many times in my life is where I chose to speak instead of just being silent, and this has caused me many problems time and time again. How many times have we said something really mean to somebody else and disguised it by telling them that we're just being honest and calling it how we see it? If somebody that you know has a problem with getting attention from girls, the dude is already highly aware of his problem. And the reality is that pretty much any problem that any of us has is something that we are already extremely aware about. Calling out another person's flaws to their face can cause problems because words can cut extremely deep. The better choice in this situation is silence and helping your friend through actions rather than criticism. Most of the things that we think are a big deal don't actually matter as much as we think. That drunk guy that just yelled something at you is completely drunk, so who really cares what he thinks? Anytime words are about to come out of our mouth, we have to ask ourselves, is it really worth it? Most of the fights and even murders around the world are the direct result of a few simple words that were taken too far. I remember when I was younger, I was wearing a bright red t-shirt and I was with a girl that I was seeing at the time, and an older guy yelled from a distance asking me if I bang. Now, in terms of the word bang, most of you probably know what that means, but if you don't, it is basically a gang reference. In this situation, obviously the best choice was silence and quietly exiting what could have turned into a very bad situation for me. Now, when it comes to speaking up or keeping your mouth shut, we have to wisely pick our battles in life. Now, of course, you could easily have done something about the drunk guy yelling stuff at you, but you have to ask yourself, what is the point? And at what cost? Every time we open our mouth and say something when we shouldn't, we will pay a price. So before we say something, we have to think about the price or the cost of what we say to another person and whether or not it is worth it. At the end of the day, most problems with other people can be avoided simply by choosing not to say anything at all or by being silent. And the times when we end up saying the nastiest things to other people are usually the times when we are overcome by fear or insecurity. So recognize when somebody makes you feel scared, intimidated, or inferior, and think about what is about to come out of your mouth and whether or not it is truly going to help the situation or make it worse. In every situation, context is key, and you have to consider the circumstances and decide if it's better to say something or if it's better to just keep your mouth shut and be quiet. There will be times when speaking up just really isn't worth it. And there will be other times when you absolutely have to say something because speaking up in that situation is totally worth it. But it's up to you to make that call. If you see somebody and they're incredibly ugly, you can't just tell them directly to their face that they're ugly and use the excuse that you're just being honest. Men with the greatest social value are those who are very good at knowing when to say something and when to simply be quiet. And the more that you understand about other people, the better you will get at this. Men who have the greatest success in terms of socializing or connecting with others are those who know exactly when to listen and precisely when to be quiet or when to talk. No matter who you are, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time can easily get you knocked out. And on the flip side, saying nothing when you need to speak up can also cause many problems for you. What so many guys don't realize is that words have an incredible power, and like an extremely sharp sword, they must be used carefully. Using the right words at the right time will cause the ladies to fall for you, or they might get you the career that you've always wanted, or even respect from other people. But something that you also have to think about is, what if you were being charged with a crime that you didn't commit? Would it be better to open your mouth and blurt out everything that comes to mind, or wait until you speak to your lawyer? Knowing when to open your mouth and when to be quiet is one of the most important skills that a man can have, period. And the better that you get at this, the better off you will be in every aspect of your life. And with that said, until next time, thanks for watching.